Wih, panas. Wih, fucking hot. Okay. Hello everyone, we are back today with our FAQ of the month, number 4, the month of April. We have tons of questions today from our Instagram followers, so let's get right into it. Number 1, how to sound like John Mayer with the tightest budget. Now with the tightest budget, assuming you already own a single coil guitar, a decent amp, I would say number 1, get an EQ pedal like the Boss GE7 or maybe the Source Audio programmable EQ, and you can easily tweak the sound of your guitar going into the amp and make it sound more John Mayerish. It's the most powerful thing you can do to change your sound. Number 2 is to learn his licks and patterns and how he plays, and that will get you the closest to sound like John Mayer. Opinion on gear snobs. God bless them. God bless them all. Number 3, do you prefer buying mid-range price guitars or cheap guitars and upgrade electronics and hardware? I prefer to get a mid-range guitar because I feel it's all about how the neck feels, because cheap guitars to me don't necessarily have the best feeling or constructed necks. The reason you at least pay for a mid-range neck, some of them nowadays are already carbon fiber reinforced, they have titanium rods or whatever to make them stronger. They are carved much more nicer on the back of the neck. Some of them have a nice satin feel. The more expensive ones maybe have a tung oil finish, so that's what matters most to me, the neck feel. So definitely a mid-range guitar. What's the best overdrive to use in conjunction with my orange for a metal tone? Well, you can't go wrong with any tube screamer type pedal, probably an OD9, because I find that between the Maxon and the Ibanez tube screamers, I feel that the Maxon is a bit more transparent for metal music at least. Tube screamer for me, I lean towards more of a bluesy style music, but that's not to say it can't be used. Other options that kind of surprised me that it works so well is the Boss Blues Driver and the MXR Distortion 3. Or another option you can check out is the MXR Micro Amp. I have one right here, I own one. Sometimes I just have this pedal in my bag with my guitar, so when I go to any jamming session, I can use any amp and I need more gain, I just push this in the front of that amp. One more piece of news for all of you is that now we have Earthquaker devices, so EQD has a new home in Music Bliss, and you can check out the EQD plumes. It's insane that a boutique handmade in USA pedal can cost under 500 ringgit. So the plumes is a tube screamer based pedal, but it's a bit more versatile. There's more range in the level and tone, and there is 3 modes, different modes. You got like a classic tube screamer circuit, you got a nice clean boost, and you got a much more compressed, crunchier sounding mode. We will have a demo of that pedal up next month, but in the meantime you can swing over to Music Bliss and try over the Earthquaker devices plumes. What's a good chorus pedal to replicate Metallica's clean tone? Years ago I tested the Mr. Black double chorus, and holy shit, it sounded exactly like a Metallica clean chorus tone. Other than that, because unfortunately we do not have Mr. Black in our store, you can probably check out the Boss CE2 Waza edition. Another one that I would probably check out is there any other good chorus pedals in the shop? I'll probably check out the Ibanez Mini Chorus. That has a nice clean metallic sounding chorus to it. How do you keep the string end to not pop out of the headless guitar locking nut? So he's talking about a headless guitar, and sometimes the strings can kind of poke out from here. So what I would do is I would put the string through the nut, I'll pull it as much as I can, and then I will cut it as close as I can, and then what I do is I'll pull the string back until I don't feel the string on the top, and then only I tighten the nut to clamp down the string. How are Windows drivers for Scarlett Solo? Hearing conflicting opinions. Yes, I went through a horrible experience just a couple months back where there was a Windows update, and all of a sudden my Scarlett 2i4, so Gen 2, just stopped working because Windows started duplicating the audio drivers. So there was like the same driver was duplicated like 2 or 3 more than that. So the Windows started getting confused on which driver to use. So my DAW and my plugins and all were not detecting the input from my guitar at all. So that made me stray away from Scarlett, and I have since switched to SSL, the SSL2 Plus, and it's working beautifully. Here in the office we use dJeNt and no issues at all. So unfortunately that is one bad experience from me for the Scarlett range of products. So I'd rather you try out dJeNt. It's probably one of the best, most solid one. SSL as well as Complete Audio. What are the best passive pickups for metal? Very personal preference thing, but I seem to like the Pegasus and Sentient combo from Seymour Duncan, so you can check that one out. Overdrive into distortion into amp, or distortion into overdrive into amp. Suggestions please. What I would suggest is the pedal that is set to less gain be first, and then the pedal with more gain be second. So if your overdrive is the lowest gain out of your distortion, compared to your distortion, then you put the overdrive first, followed by the distortion. So at the end of the day, whatever has the highest gain is the last in the signal chain, and then your amp. Next bunch of questions. Advice on how to order a custom KIESEL guitar. How much the price of KIESEL? How much Malaysia charge for the tax if I buy KIESEL? Where can I buy this KIESEL? All these KIESEL related questions. So here's the thing about KIESEL. They do not have dealers or distributors. There is no such thing as a KIESEL reseller in every country. They only sell direct to the customer. That is why their prices for a custom shop is way more affordable than any other brand out there. So they only they're 100% made in the USA, and it ships right from the USA right to your door. So the only way to order them is to use the online order form. So you can pick out a model, pick out all the options that are available with that, you add to cart, and that's how your build gets started. If you want options that are not on the build, you will have to email them and send in your specs, get a price, and pay the deposit. Waiting time is minimum 12 weeks minimum, depending on how complicated your specs are. And then once it's ready, they'll send you a payment notice, you make the remainder of the payment, and they ship it out. So as for the price, their cheapest model is about $1,200 US, and it can go all the way up to like $10,000 US depending on what you want. And one tip I always tell people when you're ordering guitars from outside of Malaysia, especially from the US and stuff like that, to save an extra 20 or 30% with your budget. So if you're going to buy a guitar that is 8,000 ringgit, I suggest you save about 10 to 11,000. If you're going to buy something that's 12,000, save 15 to 16, because sometimes shipping and tax can cost a lot. Next question, the EMG Kirk Hammett Bonebreaker versus the EMG 81. They are both ceramic pickups, but I find that the Kirk Hammett is a bit more chunkier, a bit more crunchier, and it seems to have a bit more mids to cut through a mix. So I kind of like the Kirk Hammett one over the 81, so I'll probably pick the Bonebreaker. Best Electro Harmonix pedal, every one of them, all of them. You can't go wrong with any of their fuzz pedals. The delay and reverbs are awesome, chorus is awesome, everything is awesome, everything, just buy everything. Best left-handed guitar that you have. Currently the one that catches my eye is the LTD MH1000HS Violet Shadow Fade. It's going on offer right now, so the usual price I think is about 4,000 plus. We are selling it now for 3,079, so get yours while stocks last. Couple more questions. Do you sell Strymon pedals? We used to have them. We have some difficulty acquiring them nowadays, so we don't have them in stock. Next, why don't bring the Tokai and Solo King brand into your store? Well, with Music Bliss, it's quite simple in the sense that if there is no particular demand from any one of our customers who calls in and say, hey, I want this brand or that brand, we don't really keep stock because there's no demand for it. So unless there are more people calling in like, hey, I want this brand, then we will consider to keep stock or try to fulfill your order at least. For any sort of those kind of questions, you can ask our sales hotline at 016-311-1286. Does the quality of budget recording gear differ much from their expensive counterparts? It depends. Well, if you're looking at, for example, an audio interface that is priced between 300 all the way to maybe 1,000, the difference is probably very minuscule, but you will definitely notice some very subtle hints. If your ears are trained enough, you can hear slight differences in the audio quality. Also, you must take into account that why are the more branded ones slightly pricier compared to, let's say, a Behringer UM2, because the UM2 comes with nothing else but the unit. You don't get any extra plugins, you don't get a DAW, so you got to remember that you're paying for the licensing of the software as well. Do you play gentle groovy metal? What is gentle groovy metal? I mean like OSDM instead of hypertech metal. What is OSDM? I know BDSM lah, I don't know OSDM. I don't know, I'm an old dog. I only know metal. I don't know what's gentle groovy metal. Sorry bro. Suggest the best headphones for music mixing. Thanks. I used to use Audio Technica for many years, but recently I was trying out some of the Bayer dynamic stuff and I could hear details that I could not hear in the M40 and M50X from Audio Technica. So I would highly recommend checking out either the 770, the 880 or the 990. The difference is they are closed back, semi-open and open, and you can check out differences on those. There's a video on our channel explaining the difference between a closed back, open back, as well as the difference between the ohm rating for each headphone. Treat me with 5th string arpeggios. Unfortunately, I suck at sweep picking. That is why I do a lot of legato. Buat blind challenge with Retro amps and the real deal. Kalau kita ada real deal itu in stock, bolehlah buat. Masalahnya kita tak ada marshal sebab ada setengah orang tak nak bagi marshal kat kita. Burn. His new Sterling CT50 with roasted maple neck will come to the store anytime soon. Bro, you gotta call our sales hotline at 016-311-1286 and they'll let you know. Dear Dave, not a question, but please djent for me one time, please, with cherry on top. I can't really djent lah, bro. I'm an old school player. I'm an old dog. I'm an old man. What is this djent rubbish all? Hey, pooey. Next question. Price of budget studio set, bro, without monitors. Okay. So recently, whenever someone asks what is a good beginner set, I was always recommending the PreSonus Ultimate Box, I believe. So that comes with everything: interface, mic, headphones, studio monitors, DAW. So if you want something without the monitors, you can check out. One is the dJeNt Evo starting recording bundle, so that will have the interface, mic, and headphone. Another one you can consider is the Yamaha Steinberg UR22C recording pack. So that is the same thing. It has the interface, mic, and the headphones. Your dream guitar and why? I don't really have a dream guitar nowadays, but I remember when I was a kid, my dream guitar was the PRS Mark Tremoni signature model because I loved Mark Tremoni so much. So that's what I wanted. Teach us how to shred, my man. How to shred like you. 2 questions, 1 answer. Practice, practice, practice. Turn on metronome and practice, practice, practice. Best clean and distortion preset for Mooer GE100. I'll get there, bro. I actually have not plugged in the GE100 because we literally sell 100 units a month. So I can't seem to have my hands on a unit long enough to explore it. So far, I've been playing a lot with the GE300 and the 250 and the 200 instead. So hopefully, I'll get around to testing GE100 for all of you. Why Nick Johnson's Strat Tremolo Traditional a bit floppy? How to fix? The only way I can think of fixing this, if there is no adjustable screw inside the bridge to tighten the arm. Shit, wait a minute, let me check. How is the arm placed into the Schecter Nick Johnston? Oh my god, I don't know. It's not a screwy arm. It's a poppy arm, right? Right? It's a poppy arm. Is it a poppy arm? It's a poppy arm, right? How do I not know this? I'm supposed to be a professional. Oh god. My guess, if it's a pop-in arm, sorry, I completely forgot if it has a pop-in arm or screw-in arm. So if it pops in, there should be a tiny little hex screw either around the area where you pop it in, or if you look inside the guitar near the bridge, there should be a small hex screw in order to tighten the bar so it's not too floppy. If it's a screw-in arm, you should probably try to find one of those Fender tiny little springs that they actually put into that little hole before you screw in the trem arm, so it keeps it from being floppy. So let's show you the guitar up close. If you take a look at where the whammy bar is inserted, right outside that pole there's a little hex screw. You'll have to tighten that up so that the whammy bar doesn't feel floppy. There you go. Next question. Your favorite string brand and size. So size is definitely 10 to 46. I am a long time user of the Dario. Been using them since 2005 or 4. But recently I've switched to Elixir OptiWebs because they last longer. It's not a big of a pain with my wallet, because when I used to use the EXL 110s, I would change them every 2 to 3 weeks, so that can take a toll on my bank account. So I switched to Elixir OptiWebs 10 to 46. Once in a while I would like to use the Ernie Ball Ultra Slinky, I believe, so that is 10 to 48. So I use 10 to 48 on some of my Les Pauls because it just feels a bit more nicer, because I need to wrap the string around the post as opposed to going through it. So the 48 makes it a bit more tighter for me. So in conclusion, I used to use EXL 110s, but if I had the option, I'll keep using them. But for now, I'm using the OptiWebs from Elixir 10 to 46. Who's your favorite guitarist of all time? Ask the rest of the team as well. Of all time, I probably have a list. I don't have one person. I think it started with Mark Tremonti, then it went to Jimmy Page, and then it went to maybe Kirk Hammett, and then it went to Adrian Smith of Iron Maiden, and then he just kept building up. Then it was like Mark Morton of Lamb of God, and it went to all the guys from Periphery. So it's a mixed bag. Depends what I'm listening to. Can't really have an all-time, but if I really had to pick, it's probably Jimmy Page. Your favorite guitarist? Who's your favorite guitarist? Huh? Can't think. He's a drummer, so he doesn't have a favorite guitarist. Who's your favorite guitarist?
For now, it's
Jason Richardson. Poof. Shred him out. Next question. How much amp wattage do rock metal bassists need for band practice? If you're talking bassists, rock metal, 150 minimum. 150 combo. Lower than that, you might be struggling already. So minimum 150 watts and above. Can you give us a tour of your guitar collection? Ayman Ashraf, we've asked the question before, I think. Maybe I will do it. Subscribe to my personal YouTube channel. I'll probably do it there. Lepas raya. What types of string good for acoustic guitar? My favorite is the Elixir acoustic guitar strings because they last long and they ring very nicely. So I like the phosphor bronze, not the 80-20 bronze. So I would stick to any phosphor bronze. Minimum 0.11, because I think 0.10 sounds too thin. I also have a video explaining the differences between Elixir guitar strings, OptiWeb, NanoWeb, PolyWeb, and how to choose them. You can check that out on our YouTube channel. My HH Strat guitar doesn't sound the same after a few years. Any troubleshooting, tech, and tips? I would check a couple of things first. Of course, make sure you got new strings. Number 2, make sure your frets are polished and shined, because they might sound, if it's not stainless steel, nickel can sound a bit dull. Also, it will feel too rough. Number 3, check your neck. Maybe there's too much of a relief. I personally like a dead straight neck. I don't like any relief because to me the sound is different, because the moment you have a bit of relief, the tone is not the same. So a straight neck is a bit more snappier, a bit more brighter sounding to me. Number 4, if you have adjusted your action of your strings before, maybe you did not adjust the pickup height at the same time, so you might want to fool with that. Or maybe the pickup height got knocked down over the years, maybe because the screw poles are giving way or anything like that, so you might want to double check your pickup height. And finally, it could be your volume port wearing down. So for example, if you're using a 500k port, it not be firing, most ports do not go up to 500k. If you take a multimeter and measure, it's going to go 490, 495, depends on the tolerance and quality of the pot. But maybe because you've been using that pot a lot, it could be wearing down. It could be going to maybe 480, it could be going to 475. So it could be that. So you need to check out those few things. Are you somehow related to Dave Mustaine? If I had hair like this, but long and blonde, yes! Thoughts on Marshall MG30 OD channel? If I want to be honest lah, I hate it. I'm not a fan of the MG series. I freaking hate it. When I go to a venue, or when I ask them, you got a Marshall amp, like a JCM, they say, yeah, ada. Then you go there, it's a Marshall MG100. Oh, sakit hati, breakdown aku. Tak shock, potong steam. I cannot play the show well. I mean, I still rock and roll lah, but you gotta, yeah, I hate the MG30 series. Anything higher than that, at least DSL, Silver Jubilee or JVM. Oh, I love the JVMs. JVMs are awesome, but not the MG. Oh my god. Best friendly room treatments or other alternatives. In Music Bliss, we don't really have a budget-friendly room treatment. Unfortunately, the one that we have is from a brand called Prime Acoustic. So they're called the London series. So they are a bit more pricier because they also look nice. So if you want them to look good in your room, this is one of the options. If we talk affordable stuff, we have great options for portable vocal booths from SC Electronics, so you can check that one out. Last question. Epiphone Les Pauls standard user here. What pickup upgrade would you recommend for hard rock, J-rock, drop tune genre? Thank you. You cannot go wrong with the Seymour Duncan JB Jazz combo. You just cannot go wrong with that. I've had a lot of friends who actually swap to those pickups on their Les Pauls, and it just sounds really nice and thick. Sounds good. So I would recommend you to just go for the classic combo of the JB Jazz. Definitely can't go wrong with that. And that brings us to the end of our FAQ of the month for the month of April. If you have any more questions, you can leave them down in this video below, or follow our Instagram, where we'll post a story to ask questions. Ask you guys to ask us questions. With that, thank you very much and see you in the next one.